All right. My name is Matt Oehler. I'm currently working as a machine learning engineer at Click. I did not, at least not yet, complete a project outside of the one that we made in the course, so I won't be presenting on that. But I did want to take a few minutes to cover a few of the core principles that I learned from the course that made it really worth taking and highlight some of the ways that it's made me a better engineer. So first is just general setup and account management of AWS. This is something that I didn't have any exposure to prior to taking this course, but now after taking the course, I feel confident that I could spin up a project in AWS such that any accounts and resources associated with that project would be kept neat and tidy and make it really easy to ensure that billing is tracked well and easy to manage there. Also, in terms of collaboration, I feel like I know good practices now for setting it up such that if I wanted to collaborate with someone on a project, it would be easy for me to give them only the access that they need in terms of permissions to various resources associated with the project, for simplicity, as well as just overall protection of myself and honestly the contributors, to preclude them from accidentally making a harmful change to the project or from doing something that might run up a huge bill. Very cool to learn that. Eric did a great job of teaching it from the ground up, just showing us ways that it could be done using the vanilla IAM service within AWS, but also showing how the experience as a whole can be really improved and streamlined by using AWS organizations and setting up SSO within that. So that was really cool. Next, I learned a ton about good API design principles. For context, my background, at least academically, is in statistics. And over time, I've transitioned from a data analyst or data scientist more into the engineer style role that I have right now. And often unknowingly, I've definitely carried a lot of bad practices from those previous roles. I hack it together in a notebook days from those previous positions. But as part of the curriculum in this course, we took an in-depth look into the principles of the 12-factor app. Again, Eric did a good job doing a ground-up approach to teaching this, walked us through setting up some boilerplate code for a fast API app. And that would be pretty similar with what you might find just like Googling for a basic tutorial. But then by walking through how we could very realistically have different configuration scenarios that we might want for that app, such as testing versus production, and how that could be difficult to handle and adhere to these good design principles. Eric then showed us how we can use certain design patterns, such as the app factory design pattern, to build the app in such a way that it's not difficult to handle configuration for those different scenarios and adhere to the principles of the 12-factor app such that all of those configurations are set up to be part of the environment. So very cool stuff there. And then lastly, there was a section on API contracts and just in general preventing ever introducing breaking changes into an API. This section I thought was really cool. It introduced me to some tools that I wasn't previously familiar with, such as OAS-diff, and ways that can be integrated into a GitHub action as part of a CI flow. But just very cool ways that even if your testing suite isn't fully comprehensive, you can do scans on your API spec and identify changes that could potentially be breaking and therefore prevent those changes from ever being introduced, which is super cool. And so I've been able to identify areas where I can add this into my current workflow at my job to prevent us from breaking API. And also in this section, I just saw ways where even though we are using semantic versioning as part of our workflow in my current role, there's not good guardrails around it. So it can be not necessarily easy, but it's not difficult for someone to potentially update a version to a package that maybe should have been a patch version, but they ended up making it a major version bump or vice versa. So lots of ways that we can add the updating of versions to the code review process to prevent us from ever making sort of silly mistakes. So again, really cool stuff there and excited to apply some of these principles in my current job. And yeah, so that just covers a few of the concepts that for me made taking the course more than worth it. Again, tons more that I learned. I didn't even get into Lambda functions and API gateway and some of the cool stuff as far as building out the actual project within the course, but really had a good time learning it. Would highly recommend it to anyone else. And yeah, if you are interested in the course or know anyone that might be, don't hesitate to reach out with any questions. I'd be happy to answer them. And as a whole, totally recommend it and had a great experience. Thanks.